For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome to my channel. I'm Latoya McBean Pompey, an immigration lawyer in New York, and I also talk about stimulus news and of course all things immigration, right? Now let's get into it. You might be saying, wait a minute, Latoya, I heard that Congress banned eviction, but then sometime during the summer it ended, and then I heard something else a few weeks ago about the president signing another executive order that touches on eviction issues. Is that different from what you're talking about in this video? And the answer is yes, it is different. The order is very broad and it applies to basically all renters. And I'm going to share my screen with you shortly and take you into the details like I normally do. But in a nutshell, what you need to understand about this is that firstly, if you're renting, you should still continue to pay your rent. And it does make that point very clear that this is not an opportunity for folks to just, throw in the towel and say, I'm no longer going to pay rent. No, you're still obligated to pay rent to your landlord. And in fact, this does not forgive rental obligations. You're still on the hook. Back rent is still going to be owed at some point in the near future, so it just does not go away. Now, the other thing you should know is that it is through CDC. Yes, it's CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. That's the agency that this order is technically speaking under or being enforced by CDC. Why? Well, because the argument is raised, widespread eviction may lead to the continued spread of coronavirus. Let me take you into the order itself. As you can see here, this is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the order is called Temporary Halt in Residential Evictions to Prevent the Further Spread of COVID-19. And the agency that has issued this order is CDC. Now, this is the juicy part about this order. It says, under this order, a landlord, owner of a residential property, or other person with a legal right to pursue eviction or possessory action shall not evict any covered person from any residential property in any jurisdiction to which this order applies during the effective period of the order. Then it goes on to say this order is a temporary eviction moratorium to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. This order does not relieve any individual of any obligation to pay rent, make a housing payment, or comply with any other obligation that the individual may have under a tenancy, lease, or similar contract. Yes, you're obligated to continue to pay your rent even under this moratorium. And as you can see, I just shared with you how very broad this is. It applies to any tenant who is renting or leasing in any jurisdiction. Now, how exactly is this going to work? Well, under this order, a tenant would give a landlord a declaration that is also part of this order, which I'll show you shortly. But the declaration basically attests to the fact that the individual is earning less than a certain income, they've lost income, they are facing some hardship, and they cannot make their rental payment obligation at this time. But I'll take you into the declaration shortly. Let's just keep going with what else is in this order. So it says here under renters or homeowners declaration that attachment A is the declaration that I just mentioned, and each adult listed on the lease, rental agreement, or housing contract should complete a declaration and provide that declaration to the landlord. Then it says, unless the CDC order is extended, changed, or ended, the order prevents these persons from being evicted or removed from where they are living through December 31st. And so this order is effective from September 1st through December 31st, 2020. So therefore, during this period of time, the landlord cannot get that tenant out. However, what you should also understand is that in some states, like here in New York, although landlords, we do have our own moratorium in New York on evictions. However, landlords may still pursue money judgment. Now, every state is different. Some other states may, in fact, also have their moratorium, but the moratorium that states have in place cannot provide lesser protection, so to speak, than this order. If they do provide lesser protection, then this order will trump that or supersede it. Now, there are some income requirements under this order. It applies to people who are earning an income, as an individual, I should say, an individual income of no more than $99,000 a year. And if you're a couple filing jointly, then that threshold is $198,000. And you might be thinking to yourself, whoa, if someone is earning as an individual $99,000 a year during 2020, certainly that person can afford to pay their rent, right? That would be the assumption, but certainly, a lot of people are still going through a very hard time during these days with layoffs. So they may very well be impacted, but this is a very high income threshold. This order does not apply only to low income individuals. Here's the effective date of the order. Again, I did mention it earlier, but this says that the order is effective upon publication in the Federal Register and will remain in effect through December 31st, 2020. Now, this is the declaration that is attached to the order, and this is the declaration that a tenant must provide the landlord if they are in fact going through hardship and can no longer pay the rent. Under this declaration, the tenant is alleging that they have used all of their best efforts to obtain all available government assistance for rent or housing. They expect to earn no more than $99,000 in annual income for 2020 or $198,000 if filing jointly. They're unable to make the full rent or make a full housing payment due to a substantial loss of income, household income, or loss of work hours or wages, layoffs, or any extraordinary out-of-pocket medical expenses. The individual is also declaring that they are using best efforts to make timely partial payments that are as close to the full payment as the individual's circumstances may permit. Then they have to also declare that if evicted, I would likely become homeless or need to move into a homeless shelter or need to move into a new residence shared by other people who live in close quarters because they have no other available housing options. And then the declaration goes on to say that I understand that I must still pay rent and make a housing payment and comply with other obligations that I may have under my tenancy, lease agreement, or similar contract. I further understand that fees, penalties, or interest for not paying rent or making a housing payment on time may still be charged or collected. And then finally, it says that I further understand that at the end of this temporary halt on evictions on December 31st, 2020, my housing provider may require payment in full for all payments not made prior to or during the temporary halt, and failure to pay may make me subject to eviction pursuant to state and local laws. So guys, you see how serious this is, right? That was a lot of text there, a lot of words, I should say, but in a nutshell, what this declaration is saying is that you're submitting this declaration because you've lost your income, you're going to be homeless, you're trying to make partial payments, and to the best of your ability, you're making the payments as you're able to keep up with it, but obviously you cannot keep up with it, and you understand that penalties and interest shall accrue over time as a result of you not making your full rental payment, and that the landlord may in fact come after you at the end of this moratorium to collect all of the rent. And so this is actually very serious, right? Because who wants to know that their rent is piling up, and then all of a sudden, the interest and other fees are tagged onto it, and then you have to be faced with the possibility of making this big payment. But that's the worst case scenario under this eviction moratorium. So it doesn't provide forgiveness and it doesn't provide full relief from your rental obligation. So this is an interesting one, and I know that it will help a lot of people during this time. But guys, if you're able to keep up with your rent, you've got to do it, because the consequences for not doing so will be severe under this moratorium in the end. So I hope you found this video helpful, friends. As a reminder, subscribe to this channel if you like content like this one. Smash the like button, right? Smash it, and share it with other people. Share it on WhatsApp and comment below. Let me know your thoughts. And guys, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.